about the whole goddamn fucking shit, man. You can kiss my ass on the county square because I fucking out. I didn't come here for this. I don't fucking need it. I didn't want it. I didn't get on the goddamn H-free for this kind of shit. All I want to do is fucking cook. I just want to learn to fucking cook, man. Never get out of the fucking boat. Hi, Tiger. Bye, Tiger. Goodbye.
Never get out of the boat. Absolutely goddamn right. Unless you were going all the way. Kurtz got off the boat. He split from the whole fucking program.
They do have a problem. They don't have a proper navy. They don't have a proper blue water navy to get out. They call this the island ring, the island chain. They believe that they're encased by this island chain. And in some respects they are, because these are all American allies. Even Vietnam, secretly, is an American ally. It just pretends it's a communist country. As does China. Good pretense.
So I toyed with the notion of maybe putting together a little script here at the beginning, but then I thought to myself, fuck that, you're Joshua Roberts, you understand all this shit, you don't need to write a little script. What am I, Paul Joseph Watson? I'm going to fucking read off of the other monitor while I relay the data to you? I mean, come on. No. So anyway, while most people are out watching the latest episode of Game of Thrones or going to their favorite concert or enjoying some other aspect of the Panem et Circenses fucking Matrix reality that is into which we are being increasingly inserted, we biological android useful idiot human resources on a daily basis. You know, I'm covering micro cap, mid cap sector stocks and whatnot from every fucking sector of the market economy, and doing in-depth research into the nature of the geopolitical macro financial reality of the actual reality of the planet we live on. Doing the real codifying synthesis while everyone else is content for a variety of reasons to dick around in the foreground analysis. And in my travels here today, I came across a fascinating little clip that I want to share with you all that clearly illustrates how the New World Order and their vast network of superclass C-3PO protocol droid lackeys actually understand what's going on, and will even joke about it, and everyone will have a nice little chuckle about it. Meanwhile, the mainstream media, the perpetually output zeitgeist, and even the alternative media even goes around regurgitating this crap. They don't bother to do the codifying synthesis. They stick to the fucking foreground analysis. They regurgitate the memes. They don't bother to process the distortion, because that would require an actual pair of balls or some journalistic integrity. Sorry, I hate to shit where I eat, and I hate to shit all over people who are doing their level-headed best to, deconstruct the enemy operations. But come on, we got to get more sophisticated. We got to get more savvy, or we're gonna continue to fucking have these guys eat our lunch, get our asses handed to us by them. Anyway. So here is the ECFR basically giving the game away when it comes to the Rust-Fed encirclement, and I'll put a link down below for you to go and check out the actual podcast. It is a little podcast called, from today, July 29th, 2015, called Putting the Geo Back into Geopolitics. To understand why Putin is so obsessed with Crimea, why the USA was destined to become a global superpower. I'm reading off of the description here on the Mixcloud page. To understand why Putin is so obsessed with Crimea, why the United States of America was destined to become a global superpower, why China's power base continues to expand ever outwards, one needs to understand geography. This is what author Tim Marshall argues in his new book, Prisoners of Geography, at this ECFR event. ECFR's communications manager, Richard Spate, speaks to Tim Marshall about his publication and why he thinks geography is the most overlooked of the internet, blah, 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 blah. They're basically getting Marshall in here, and they've furnished him with a series of talking points, and he's got a basic script, and then he's going to run down his formulaic analysis that plays into the ongoing, if you've been paying any attention, over the last 2-3 weeks, and obviously much longer going way back, but specifically in the last 2 to 3 weeks, there's been a heightened PR pumpage push by the powers that be and their fucking mouthpieces to make it clear to everybody that Putin is the aggressor in all of this. It's Russia. They're the ones who are blah, blah, blah. Now, of course, if you follow my work or you know me at all and you've heard me rattle on endlessly, you'll know that my depiction of the geopolitical reality is vastly different than most people in the alternative media. You have people in the alternative media like the much ballyhooed Paul Craig Roberts, who I don't understand why people would trust a guy who basically fell for, I mean, we're talking about the father of Reaganomics here. He basically fell for this trap, oh, no, trickle-down economics will work because it'll reduce taxes on the actual producers in our economy who create jobs, and they're the ones who really make the economy hum, and, it'll reduce taxes on them and make the job easier for them. Oh, wait, it opened the door for fucking the complete outsourcing of the entire American economy to China, etc. Oh, whoops. Yeah, no, it's called a Trojan horse. It's like Dodd-Frank, Oh, we're going to firewall off the commercial banks from playing around in the stock market. Don't you worry, man. I mean, it's Glass-Steagall 2.0. It's like Elizabeth Warren coming out here recently. Oh, no, this is a Glass-Steagall 2.0. Can you people please get off of your asses and learn to spot a Trojan horse operation? I digress. PCR et al. They continue to talk about the Anglo-American establishment and China and Russia versus the United States. And there's this polarized view, this new Cold War view. And it's not completely wrong from a fundamental logistical standpoint, because the logistics are there, but they're engineered. Anyway, this view of an Anglo-American establishment is the cornerstone of the New World Order, or the LaRouchian view of, the Crown of England is the capstone. This is as ridiculous as the people, no offense, who are like, oh, the Jews run it all, or it's all the Vatican, and, this is as ludicrous as the people who wag their finger at Alex Jones and say, you're a Jesuit Vatican chupacabra, Jesuit coadjutor, Zionist working for the, okay, come on, folks. Look, Israel is a hijacked state. The modern Israel is an abomination. It is heretical. It is not, the Zionists aren't even Jews, so when we attack all Jews because we point to all these Jews that are in the New World Order, like Brother Nathaniel or something, it just allows the enemy to paint us as a bunch of anti-Semites, and that's how they tell the sheeple that our information is not worth listening to, etc., etc., etc. And the same with the Vatican. They're like, let's get them to attack each other over religion. The average Catholic is just a porch Catholic. They just love Christ, and they don't know any better, and they don't understand what Catholicism even is. They don't understand that it's basically Project Bluebeam beta version stuff. They don't understand how, the Catholic Church is not Christianity. The Catholic Church, in many ways, is the whore of Babylon, and I say that with all due respect to Catholics that I know out there who are devout Catholics. There's nothing wrong with their praxis. They're ascribing to a set of, so I'm getting way off topic as I usually do, but whatever. This is not for everyone. This is for me and a select few people who will actually find it interesting. But I should get back, I digress. I should get back to the core. My point is, let's not get into these absurdist, unrealistic views of the geopolitical nature of reality, or of the true nature of the true nature and phenomenology and architecture of the New World Order as a system. Paul Craig Roberts, etc., are naive old farts who don't know any better, and there's all kinds of people in the alternative news community who just ascribe to their worldviews, and they don't really bother to process the distortion. Now, China is not an autonomous... Look, this is like Rickards, who is a mouthpiece, for the cartel, basically. Jim Rickards is a cartel mouthpiece. This is like when Jim Rickards says, oh, there's a currency war, and tries to create this narrative about competing autonomous nation states. For there to be a currency war, there have to be competing autonomous nation states. But as you will know if you're following my work at all, the People's Bank of China, the PBOC, the BOJ, the Federal Reserve System, the ECB, it's all one cartel, baby. It's all one. The Bank of Canada, it's all one cartel of banks. There's no currency war. There's the illusion, the deliberately created illusion of a currency war. That's the prerequisite for, global fiat rape, ramping into an SDR where a effectively gold-backed. I like how Kuz Jansen et al. They'll be like, well, it's not actually gold-backed. Yeah. What's the difference between the renminbi being actually backed by gold and unofficially backed by gold? Well, the unofficial gold backing is way more useful because that way the plebs can never come after you seeking gold for their renminbi on a direct exchange basis, nor can anyone else. And yet you still have the effective clout and the logistical force of having a gold-backed currency on the global stage. I digress. I'm not going to get into forex market manipulation, but let's leave it right there. The point is that China is not an autonomous nation state, nor is the United States. And this is my real thrust of this 10 minutes already preface to what I'm about to throw down. China is a New World Order laboratory, as I often say. It is they took the template during the Gilded Age. They realized, the robber barons, etc., in the New World Order, realized that the United States was too much trouble. We were too fat, too happy, too well armed, too into individual sovereignty. We have a history of Magna Carta in 1776. There's no way they're going to be able to directly go to a ideal slave state template in America. However, the assembly line process, etc., offers tremendous potential. So they simply templated out the assembly line process, etc., the mechanics, the internal workings of our market economy, and imposed that template on geographical regions where the human populations were easier to control. For instance, China. And I'm not going to go back to the Opium Wars and talk about the British East India Company. I'm not going to talk about Rockefeller Standard Oil or how CNOOC or Sinopec are basically Rockefeller Standard Oil shell companies, shell operations. I'm not going to really go into how the Central Committee in China is a bunch of bloodlines and hand-picked New World Order C-3PO protocol droids. I'm just going to assert to you that China is a New World Order laboratory, stripped down. There is no China anymore. China is just a name. China is a country that used to exist, much like the United States is a country that used to exist. But China is way more... we're a hijack nation. We're the pit bull of the New World Order. But China is a literal laboratory, stripped down and rebuilt from the ground up, subsequent to the Sun Yat-sen, Chiang Kai-shek, Mao Zedong era. It is a proxy. It is a proxy of the New World Order. Their relationship with Pakistan is very telling in all of this. The main thrust of what I'm saying here is about the ongoing Brzezinski model for the Russian Federation encirclement. Again, as I said before in earlier talks, the Russian Federation, basically, under the Putin faction of the ex-KGB mobsters, quietly stole the country back while the New World Order took their eye off the ball. Obviously, the major Russian banks and the Russian Central Bank are still puppets. They're still completely overrun by cartel agents. But the vast majority of the actual military and economic structure of the country has been stolen back by what are effectively ex-KGB Russian mobsters who are more hardcore conspiracy theorists than you or I. And they understand all of this, by the way. They know China's a proxy, but they're between a rock and a hard place. They're doing deals with Iran not because they don't realize that they're being set up for when because we're like, it's like the multilateral security agreement with the Saudis, and now we're giving Iran nuke tech. I mean, it's Iraq 2.0. We gave Saddam the chemical weapons he used, big air quotes here, he used to gas the Kurds. Pretty sure at this point that was some kind of a CIA wetwork team, and then Saddam, who was our boy, later just played along with it because it made him look like more of a strong man, and B, we told him, don't worry, we got your back, and then we double crossed him. We sent Colin Powell into the over to the UN where he could shake a little vial around and show some shitty 3D Studio Max renderings of mobile weapons, chemical weapons laboratories, and so that we're basically creating the justification here. That's because all you got to do is sign this multilateral security agreement with the Saudis, and then give Iran nuclear technology, and then light some kind of either a tactical candle or set off a dirty bomb somewhere in the mid, and there you go. Oh shit, we got to go in there. What do you know? We got to go in there, and we got to go into Syria too, because Syria helped, and those Russians helped too, I bet. And that'll help, And this is all about the Rust-Fed encirclement. It's the Ring of Fire, whether we're talking about Eastern Europe and Turkey, and whether we're talking about the Ukraine, or we're talking about, Xinjiang, Uyghur violence in northwestern China. I digress. Let's get on to the nitty-gritty. Paul Craig Roberts et al. I'm not going to continue to name names. Paul Craig Roberts is a big enough target where if I say, for example, Paul Craig Roberts has got the game wrong, you'll realize that I'm talking about a whole swath of people who ascribe to this view, this narrative about the nature of the geopolitical reality of the planet that the enemy wants us to believe. They're trying to create a clash of civilizations. They want us to believe China is autonomous and the United States is autonomous and war is inevitable. In reality, China and the United States are both wholly owned subsidiaries of, New World Order Holdings Corp., a global holding company. We're the military security division. China is currently the operations division. AFRICOM and the economy of Africa is a perfect microcosm to study the interplay of these two divisions and the reality of it all. And of course, France, which is now nothing more than a RMB offshore, and their involvement in AFRICOM is very telling in all of this. China gets all the contracts, we provide the security envelope. Pretty simple. But more importantly, they have programmed the world to say, "Oh, America, down with the great Satan." That's why they continue to use this as the pit bull to go and mop up regions. Vietnam, for instance, is very telling. For instance, in all of this, given the faking of the signals intelligence in the Gulf that preceded the Vietnam conflict. Currently, China is slant drilling Vietnam's oil, sucking Vietnam's offshore hydrocarbon dry. Everybody's like, oh, look at Iceland. They kicked out the banks, and then what does Iceland do? Iceland goes and immediately signs a big fucking agreement with the Chinese, and everybody was too trendy to do oh man, come on, we can't do shale recovery in the offshore, man. I mean, come on, it's trendy, right? In Iceland, all the trendies. But now China, via Sinopec are drilling that offshore. So it shows you how shit actually works. In other words, they created a crisis, right? They created a banking crisis and allowed the people to think, oh, we're free now. They sold them a fake revolution of freedom and chased them into the arms of China, which is the real new main base of the New World Order. So they auto-abkeoed the people in Iceland into a more complete control paradigm, and yet they think they're fucking free. And the same is true for Ukraine and for Greece, and it happened in Cyprus, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, back to the central thesis. The central thesis here is that there is just the New World Order. China's a subsidiary. India is a conquered, hijacked nation. The United States, obviously a hijacked nation, and the CFR knows all of this and jokes about it openly. And that's the clip I'm about to show you, is how the CFR is basically, you've got this, and I say the CFR, but it's really Marshall. They brought in Marshall to sort of be a mouthpiece for them. And his work in many ways is constructed to be very friendly to the insiders. This is how you get ahead in the New World Order. You write books that go, you write books where it's like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This is how the world actually works, huh? And that's how you get it. That's how you actually accrue power, is you show the other muckety mucks. You show them you know how the game is played. I know from personal experience. Only not, I don't do it the same way, but anyway, if you're going to infiltrate the enemy, see, that's why I can be completely public even, like this. I can be completely public and yet continue to do what I do, is because of the hubris envelope. I'll let, to quote Paisy Duez, I'll let you see the plan. You still won't even understand. I mean, come on, So, anyway. There is no China. It's a proxy. There is no United States. This is the key thing I want you to remember going into this clip. The United States is a hijacked nation. When we talk about how China is a friend or ally of the United States, what that really means is we are both operating divisions of the global holding company called the New World Order, and it's really all about Russia. And this talk, putting the geo back into geopolitics, I jumped from this subject, but I jumped from this talking point, this vector. Let me restate it. There has been a massive increase over the last 2 weeks from the powers that be and their mouthpieces in the hijacked, CFR hijacked media, painting Russia as the aggressor. This is an amazing little talk. That's basically what it's all about, is painting Russia as the aggressor. But in this little clip that I'm about to share with you, they totally give the game away. And it flies in the face of everything you see from other CFR sources even. It flies in the face of, PCR's, Paul Craig Roberts' ludicrous vision of the geopolitical reality. It flies in the face of the same geopolitical narrative everybody else ascribes to about how, it's China versus the United States, and the Chinese are cyber hacking. Remember going back to like the Alcoa hack and right up to the latest flap about Chinese cybersecurity. I'm not going to go into all the little details of the latest hack, and I mean you're familiar with all this stuff if you've been following this at all. And but there's this constant theme about the Chinese cyber hacking, and we got to shore up. It's all about bringing Internet 2.0 Chinese style Internet 2.0 metrics. You'll notice that Richard Clarke, who helped engineer 9/11, immediately went over to cyber terrorism. And ever since then, they've been selling the Russian hack, Chinese hack meme. What this actually is we hack ourselves and then we blame the Chinese in order to create the justification for bringing that Internet 2.0 metrics. But again, I digress. The point here is that, what is the fundamental point? They are acclimating the public to really believe that Russia is the aggressor in all of this. Of course, this is just the latest wave of this kind of activity, but this clip is amazing, and I just thought I'd share it with you all.
The real settlers are the Han Chinese. About 90% of Chinese are Han, and most of them live here, but they are busy settling in Tibet by tens and tens of millions. And the character of Xinjiang, which was Muslim, and Tibet, which was Tibetan, is changed already. They are probably a minority in Xinjiang now, the Xinjiangians. Certainly the Manchurians are a minority up here. They are now Han up in Manchuria. They're Han here, and Tibet will soon be majority Han. It will no longer really be Tibet. If you want to talk about settlements and settlers, that's a good place to start. There's slightly more of them than in that other country. Moving on. They do have a problem. They don't have a proper navy. They don't have a proper blue water navy to get out. It's They call this the island ring, the island chain. They believe that they're encased by this island chain, and in some respects they are, because these are all American allies. Even Vietnam, secretly, is an American ally, just pretends it's a communist country. As does China. Good pretense. But, if you've got Taiwan, Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, and these are all American friends, and they've all got navies, you're feeling threatened. They're building a blue water navy, they're going to have to come out. To get out over here, they've got to go past Okinawa. The Japanese are piling every shorter ship missile they can get on the tip of Okinawa to make sure that if you want to come past us, don't cause any trouble. And here we have the Strait of Malacca. 82% of China's energy needs come through there every single day. And who controls the sea lanes? The Americans. So if you're going to be the great power of the 21st century, or parity, at least, although I'm not convinced there will be parity here, you need a blue water navy that can challenge the Americans, and you will push out and you will bump up against them. And how that managed, for me, is the key of the 21st century.
I, too, once felt the feelings that you carry now. I question the things whose true forms are invisible. But when all was said and done, all I was left with was nothingness and disgust. And to that disgust we all carry, I simply say, not I. Your world. I do not accept this world. To it I shall always say, no.